look at this. This is what I didn't want to happen. My hand all in the thing as I'm loading. This is going to be the first part of the video is my hand. How y'all doing? Technical difficulties. What's up, Facebook Live audience, as you guys are joining? You have no idea what it took for that to get started. We're actually going to get started with the show in literally like 3 seconds and I don't even have my script. We're going to flow today because God is able. Amen. All right, are we ready to get started, Afeni? Okay, 3, 2, and 1 to me. All right, Dan, you with me?
I'm with you.
Okay.
We're going to flow together.
We're going to start what's going to happen is for the podcast part, they're going to cut all of this part out.
Okay.
It's just the Facebook Live audience that gets to see everything, but unfortunately can't see you, so get on in there with me. Okay, there we go. That's good. Oh, good lighting too. All right. Let's get going. What's up, Milwaukee and the world? Welcome to yet another episode of Saved and the City with your girl, Iberia, on WQIL DB. Yes, you are locked live to the right station at the right time for Saved and the City. It's actually a weekly talk show where we candidly explore issues and topics from church culture to world culture and everything in between. Each show ends with the solution for the show's themed problem. We call that the Kingdom Solution. So make sure you keep it locked all the way to the end to get some solutions to the different issues and things that we kind of deal with throughout the day. Be sure to like me on Facebook at Saved and the City. Join my groups on Facebook to stay connected. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. And actually now, because of the podcast platform, you can find me on Google Play, on Stitcher. Make sure you guys subscribe so that, if you don't catch the Facebook Live, you can always catch the podcast at a later time whenever you're ready. You can catch up on all the shows as well. So make sure that you do that. So again, Stitcher, we're on iPhone. So if you have I want to say iPod app, but it's not that. It's the podcast app, on iPhone and on Android. I'm there as well. So subscribe. I need the support of each and every one of you to keep it going. So I appreciate you for those people who have been supporting. I really couldn't do this without you. Shout out to Mima's Gourmet Delights, Pastor Martha R. Austin, who's still kicking after a scare the other day. So those of you who follow me know that Mima's Gourmet Delights is also very dear to my heart because it's my mother's business. So she's baking cakes on a regular and doing all of this amazing things. At 62 years old, she's just quite an inspiration. Yes, and the other day, she happened to cut her arm on a glass kitchen table. And this is not like a little fine piece of glass. This is a thick, heavy piece of glass, and it literally gashed her arm. And we had to rush her to the doctor, and they did stitches on her. And how many of y'all know that the enemy ain't playing with you? Like, he wants to stop your blessings. He wants to stop you, distract you from going to the place that you are designed to go. But that's the one thing I loved about my mom. That same night, she was back baking cakes.
That's
like,
right.
And what? Right. You tried it. So again, prayers out to Mom as she continues to heal. I know what will make her feel that much better is if you guys head on out to Woodman's and pick up one of those amazing cakes that she has out there. Also, shout out to Luminosity Enterprises for all your marketing support, to Afeni Grace and Michaela Farmer for just holding me down in the studio, my amazing staff here at Saved in the City, for all of my supporters, and just each and every one of you. I'm so thankful for you. So, let's just jump right into the topic. I got my boy with me, Daniel, D.H.
Hey. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing great.
You pressed your way on out here to
Milwaukee. I had to. Won't he do it?
Well, you was at the apartment as well. What, it was like a house?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. This is like the third person. Like, okay, so for those people who do come in the future, it's actually at a business establishment, but you're like the third person that actually went to the apartment.
It was a really nice apartment, though.
I don't know what that is. So we are out here at Platypus Advertising and Design. So shout out to them. It's an amazing podcast studio out here. Shout out to Dan and, of course, LZ Flinnard, of the founder and owner of WQYL WKYLDB, and also Enterprise Now. So as you're searching for podcasts to subscribe to, definitely subscribe to Enterprise Now. I actually would not be in the studio, of course, number one, without God, but then also without LZ. You know, God uses people in the earth. Yeah, LZ he's that man. He's definitely the person to connect with. So definitely reach out to him too if you're looking to expand your own brand, you're looking to podcast or anything like that. So LZ Flanard, Enterprise Now, WQIL-DB.com. Make sure you check that out. Now, it is Wednesday, but it's not just any old Wednesday. It's Won't He Do It Wednesday. And I think it's going to be Won't He Do It Wednesday for the rest of this year at least. Okay. And so I'm so excited to have my brother Daniel on. Now, you've been on like twice before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a regular. I'm part of the family.
You know, when I like you, I'll be like, come on back.
Yes.
But today, we had you on as my artist spotlight before, and then we had you on where we talk about was it
the power singles?
The power singles,
yeah.
You know, being kind of doing your own thing and still living a single life. How do you kind of manage all of that? And so today, I thought let's take a look behind the image that we see of Daniel, because a lot of people don't know your story. Some people do, because you're also very transparent. Yes. But especially even in your music, but people sometimes when they see an image, they're like, oh, he got there. They make up their own kind of journey for you. This is why. Oh, he's privileged. Oh, he just knows the right people, or whatever the situation is. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, and why don't you just kind of walk us through the story of a champion?
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that. Yes.
I love it.
Well, for me personally, I grew up, on the north side of Milwaukee. I did grow up in a household with two parents. I think the thing that made my story a little different is that my mother was, adamant about raising us in a household of sanctification, not just kids that go to church, but understanding who we are as the church.
Right.
My father, on the other hand, was he was well respected in the street.
Okay.
By the time he had us, he was done with that whole lifestyle, but he had done prison time, and oddly enough, some of the prisons that he did time in, I wound up doing time in later too myself. Yeah, so the sins of the father really do fall on the son,
Yeah.
But my mother, on one hand, she always made sure that God was the center of everything that we did.
Yeah.
For example, when it came to conflict resolution, my mother would be like, just kind of, think it out, find a way around it. Exactly. My father was the type of person who was like, hey, man, look, if I found out you lost that fight, I'm putting my hands on you.
Ooh.
So it was like, early on you knew that you had choices. My mother was very adamant about education. So was my father as well.
Sure.
But growing up, I always knew that I had a decision. And when I got old enough, which was around the age of 13 or 14, I started leaving home.
Okay.
Running away, being disobedient to both of my parents. Doing terrible in school, not because I did not comprehend the curriculum. It was just because I wanted to be rebellious, And so around that time, I began to make choices that were in conflict with the spiritual beliefs that, we grew up having.
Yeah.
And I would say by the time I was about maybe a freshman in high school, I was all the way wild. There was nothing nobody could tell me, or there was no kind of correction that I could really accept that would help me to make a different set of decisions. And so
that's interesting. I'm just gonna jump in really quick and then keep going.
Go ahead,
because you have a lot of people that are quick to blame right away. Well, my mom didn't do, or my father didn't do, and this was the reason I went to the streets. But you are taking ownership for your own decisions.
I feel like as a man, in order for you to correct any things that you've done wrong, you have to take personal responsibility for the things that you've done that were incorrect. Where you can say, okay, I could have made a better decision there.
But were you a man when you started making some of those poor?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Right,
absolutely not. But in hindsight,
Okay.
hindsight is 20/20 vision.
Yeah.
You see things perfectly a lot of times when you're looking back at it. But at the time, no, I was blaming everybody else and not taking responsibility. But in the environment I grew up in, the neighborhood, the household was about God. The neighborhood was the hood.
A little different.
Yeah. So we were exposed to a lot of things, random gunshots and, fights and all type of thing, police brutality. And you name it, we saw it. And so I think I became interested in knowing what it was that helped some of my associates generate money. So one of the things that I kind of got into was armed robbery. That was one of the things I got into.
Wow.
And the reason why I did that, and I did that intentionally, because I've always been very observant, very quiet, reserved, you know. So when I would go out and do certain things, people wouldn't expect for me to be the one doing it. So I played on that, you know. And so, like, you know, I would, you know, take something from this person, and he would come around like, man, I lost like 5 pounds. Did you? That's messed up. You can't trust nobody nowadays, you know. And that was the role that I would play.
Right.
And you know, also being involved in that type of a lifestyle, I was associated with a lot of people that many people on the outside looking in feared. These were people that were like my friends, and one in particular, his name, we called him Mike C. He was a good friend of mine. He was one of the people actually that tried to like detour the decisions that I made while I was in the street. He found out I could rap, and the first thing he did was he built a studio in his basement. He said, I want to give you another option, man, because you're not going to be like them. You have like a gift, you know what I'm saying? And this is when I first found out that I could rap too, being on the block, you know, doing battle rapping and all of that. And he saw something in me, and, you know, he put some money where his mouth was, and you know, kind of built a studio. But I chose, even in that, I made bad decisions, you know, and I chose to associate myself with people that were doing all type of criminal activity. And long story short, by the time I was 16 years old, I was on what they call Milwaukee's Most Wanted list for armed robbery. Yeah, armed robbery, gun possession. Initially, the charges were armed robbery, gun possession, and masterminding charges.
Masterminding charges.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and those charges.
That sounds impressive, but it's like you can't celebrate that.
Right? No, you definitely can't celebrate that. No, basically, what that is like when some of my partners went down, they were saying like he was the one that kind of was orchestrating things to happen a certain way.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Like you was that. You can't say that word. But.
Yeah, right. That's the way they tried to make it seem, you know. But in all actuality, I felt like I was in a position to help my friends. Like, hey, if this is a way we get money, then let's go over here. Let's do this, and you can make X amount of dollars. Let's try it. It worked. All right, let's do it again. Okay. Let's put our friends over here on to this so they can make some money too.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I was just making suggestions. Right. But those suggestions led to you know, decisions that brought about a great deal of pain and detriment, not only to me, but also to people that were connected to a whole family of people. Yeah, you know. And even the Bible says a certain way of living seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. And that death doesn't always mean it's an instantaneous death. It means that there's a separation of sorts. And so there was a separation between me and my family, me and my loved ones, because after I had been on the run for 2 years, from the age of 16 to 18, I was apprehended by the Milwaukee Police Department. I was sat in interrogation, and I sat in that interrogation room for maybe about altogether, collectively, for about 48 hours, because they have there's like a rule where you can only be in an interrogation for X amount of time before they have to release you, right? Okay. And so I'm sitting there, you know, just real cocky, like, man, y'all don't know nothing. If you knew, you wouldn't be asking me these questions. I'm talking crazy, reckless to the Milwaukee Police Department. And all of a sudden, this tall white gentleman with gray hair, I'll never forget it, he comes into the interrogation room, and he sits down a thick packet of paper. He sits it in front of me. He says, oh, you think you're tough, huh? Well, how about this, Mr. Tough Guy? And he walks off. And I'm going through the paper, and it's a statement from my best friend. He's telling them, he told them what my name was, my parents' name, because he was the only person close to me that have that much information. And so that really put me in a position to develop a lot of trust issues, even some now that I've been getting delivered from even recently. But when you have somebody that close to you do something like that, it brings a great deal of, you know, being guarded. And I'm going to tell you something, that that right there was the deciding factor of why I came to Jesus. I later understood he was Savior. I later understood he was Messiah. But that was the only God that I could relate to that understood the pain of betrayal. That's why I came to Christ.
Ooh, that's fire right there. Oh my God. Okay, so there's so much. I'm like, just let them talk, but there's so much. So there's a couple things I just wanted to pull out real quick, and then please let's go a little bit deeper into the story. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So the one thing that stood out to me right away is that, and this, and hopefully people can take this away, is that when you sin is not going to feel bad in the beginning. It's gonna feel, I could do this and get away with that. Why am I stressing? And let me just do that. So there's a bait and switch thing that ends up happening at some point.
Absolutely.
And so the enemy's gonna make it super easy. The other part, and then you get caught at some point, whether you're caught in the physical or caught in the spiritual. You're gonna something has to stop, because the wages of sin, there's a wage, there's a cost to it, right?
Yeah.
And there's a wage, and the wages of sin is death. So even if that's a death of a friendship, of a belief system,
of a lifestyle,
of a pattern, there is going to be a sacrifice.
And I want to interject there too. You said something about a life of sin, right?
Yeah.
Growing up, we would hear traditionally in church people saying, "Oh, God saved me from a horrible life of sin."
Yeah.
I want to tell my generation that is a lie. I wasn't living no horrible life. I had a ball. I had a ball.
I know a lot of people's like, no, that was good.
Oh no, that was good stuff. You know what I'm saying? At the time, that's what I thought, because I was thinking from a corrupted perspective.
And from a fleshly perspective, because it feels good right away.
It feels good right away. But what the difference is that I had to have a paradigm shift in order to really understand my destiny and my calling. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it took for me going through what I went through and being sentenced to 4 years in prison. I did 4 years in prison.
Yeah, I was going, okay, so how long was it? 4 years?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I did 4 years together, consecutively. It wasn't like 6 months here and I go to the crib. Like, no.
That's a transition from freedom, running things.
Yeah.
What was you, the mastermind, whatever?
To
now having
allegedly,
to now you got to wait till they tell you to go eat and go
play. Fed food through what they call like a dog shoot in your door. Like, it was crazy. The first thing,
y'all didn't have like a cafeteria?
I mean, yeah, we did in certain instances, but I did some time in the hole though. So it was like 23 hours. Think of being in a studio apartment closet for 23 hours a day.
I can't.
Yeah, for 60 days.
I get like driving and riding in the car on the road trip too long. I'm like, okay, rest stop.
right. Yeah. So I did all together. I think I must have did at least 120 all together in those 4 years.
In the hole?
In the hole, yeah, 120 days at least, because I did a 60-day stint, then another 60-day stint, then I did like a 30-day stint within that 4-year time, and I never had real problems with other inmates. I was around goons all the time, you know what I'm saying? So that wasn't unfamiliar with me. I had a problem with authority.
Whoa,
you know what I'm saying?
And it's smacking your face.
Yeah.
And not an undeserving authority on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that one of the COs told me when I went to Dodge, it was a very large white gentleman. And I was up in Dodge, Wisconsin, and it's a line of us. It's a line of us getting ready to go into the intake dorm. And he walks up to me. He's way bigger than me, but I'm like, whatever. However this is going to go down, we're going to do it. And he said, I know who you are. I said, really? He said, yeah, I got your paperwork over there. He said, let me tell you something. Don't come in here with that gangbanging stuff because, what did he say? He said, they will find your body out in one of these cornfields playing with me up here. We run this up here. You know what I'm saying? We the biggest gang up here. So I'm like, okay, all right. This is probably not the place I need to be.
No, sir. So, okay, so you get out. You serve your 4 years. Now you're in the process of transitioning because now, obviously because you have felony charges. So now that.
Multiple.
But I don't know. Were you even trying to get back into a job? But of course you couldn't go back to the street. Or did you? Or talk about that transition for you.
Well, for me, that transition happened while I was still incarcerated because during one of those stints in the hole, I think it was my last 60-day stint, that's where I gave my life to Jesus Christ, was in solitary confinement.
Now, where did that come from? Did someone witness to you, or
it came from the foundation that
right,
was
laid, I'm
because
telling you, that
the work,
foundation is real parents.
Yeah, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they get older, they won't depart from it.
Yeah.
And so, while I was in that place, I started to think about all of the bad decisions that I was making and how those decisions affected the people that I was connected to. And so, I made a promise to God in 2003 while I was in the hole, and I said, God, 2004. I'm sorry. I said, you know what? I've made a mess of my life. But if you give me another opportunity to use these gifts that you've blessed me with, to utilize my mind for something more creative than what I was doing, then I'll spend the rest of my life, telling people about you and that you changed my life. So it really started there. I started ministering while I was still in prison myself. So I would have Bible studies, and some of my homeboys that some of the COs couldn't really control, they would put them on my unit because they know that they would listen to me out of respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was definitely a transition while I was in there. Now, when I came home in 2007, my mind was already made up. I said, I'm going to get a job. I know I'm probably, have to go stay with my parents for a little bit, and that's cool. That's a humbling thing for me, because I was used to just going out and doing whatever I wanted to do. But I said, you know what, I'm going to take this time, learn what I need to learn, establish myself, and keep going. I came home with 13 albums worth of material. I already knew. I had a plan before I came home. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And even the music that people hear from me now, this is nothing that I've even touched. This is stuff that is all new material. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I used that time during my transition to really prepare for what I'm doing now. So I've been going to schools, going to MPS schools, telling people about my story. I've been going around to different churches. People see me out here serving. That's one of my songs. But that's really coming from a place of servanthood and going into different communities when it's necessary. I show up to candlelight vigils. I mean, you name it, I'm there, man.
That's complete, now you're using your mastermind for something else.
Yeah, using the master's mind. You feel me? So, yeah. We flowing today, right? Want to do it?
I love it. Dang, it was something I was about to say. I completely forgot. But Daniel, you're amazing. So obviously, the music became a huge outlet for telling your story. Obviously, you started within the prison. That was my question. Because the thing is, you get out. We already know. Once that temple is swept clean, the enemy's coming back super strong. You know what I mean? Yeah. So how did you not get caught back up? Because the streets were still here. The people were still here. The fast money was still there.
It was still there. But you know what? There's a power that comes with making a sound decision. You have to make a decision within yourself that says, you know what? No matter how hard it get, no matter how tempting it may seem, I made a promise to God, man, and if I can't keep that vow to God, I can't keep that vow to anybody else. I can't keep that vow. What about vows to a future wife? You know what I'm saying? Vows to my parents. I also told them I was going to change, and how many times do we know people that go in and they automatic, they get saved and stuff. And it's like, okay, all right, they come out and do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't want that attached to my name, because a good name is better than silver and gold. You feel me? So,
you better know it.
And I just didn't want to have what people would consider a jailhouse religion. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted something authentic. So I said, in order for me to do that, I have to associate myself with real people. And I thank God to this day, man, that when I came home in 2007, the church that I was in helped me to solidify the foundation. And that was Faith Builders International Ministry.
Oh, shout out to Pastor Pruitt. That was one of my transitional churches, too.
Yeah,
love
so
them over
for
there.
me, I was there from 2007 all the way up to maybe 2010, I think. And everything that I experienced while I was a part of that church helped to just solidify some things for me. And I can't thank Pastor Pruitt and Pastor Robin enough for just coming alongside me. They were praying for me while I was still incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? So, they have a vault in the altar at Faith Builders of names of people that their family members were praying for. And so my name is actually in the foundation of the church as one of the people that they prayed for. And I wound up going and being a member at that church years later.
Wait, you didn't know at that
I didn't
time
know.
that
I didn't
you
know.
were?
No, I had no clue. Yep. So
I love it.
regardless of anybody that's listening, just know that you may have, loved ones, or you may even yourself be going through things, but just know you never know who's praying for you. You never know who's interceding on your behalf. Just know that whatever you're going through, you're not going through it alone, and God wouldn't bring you to it if he couldn't bring you through it.
That's
you feel me? So
yeah. Wow, we're gonna go to your first song that we've had it on the show before. It was one of my favorites from the mixtape, Bang Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all right? Can we listen to that?
Let's do that.
And then we're gonna come back and talk about some of the amazing work that he's doing right here in our city, because he is also this week's Milwaukee Treasure. We'll be right back after this.
Can't breathe, sick and tired of these injustices executing my people. Didn't the media publish it? Hatred is what the subject is. For Ferguson, Missouri, both hands I throw up, getting hard to the stomach and country crumbling under pressure. God bless us, too bad trigger happy cops never see us. It's nothing special, they protesting in my town. Cops murder Eric Gardner on camera. Where's the justice for Mike Brown? Facts I provide the nation. If one shot is manslaughter, then 14 shots is annihilation. Deeper than ethnicity is deeper than you thought. Why was Dante Hamilton killed for sleeping in the park? Protect the serve, broken promises, crooked cops dominant in the black environment. So reaching 30 is an accomplishment, quite clear. They don't fight fair, can't let the gunshots of injustice turn King's dream into a nightmare. Yeah. That's how the guns sound. Can we put the guns down? That's how the guns sound. Can we put the guns down? Pay attention and listen up. We shouldn't have to live in fear of those whose occupation basis is assisting us. True power exists in us. We the people are giving up our rights to be respected. If our voices are lifted up with actions following, lack of this is what the problem is. Shots going off in my hood, got it feeling like the Gaza Strip. God let us see where our hearts led us on the daily. Babies affected, catching more strays than dog catchers. Society wonder who's to blame. But if we lack respect amongst our own, then we can expect others to do the same. A new lane Daniel was paving, how can you blame him for protesting and chanting for changes? Cause my city is everything, but the paradise never gamble with Satan. Hatred is part of the problem. Love can handle the changes, it's quite clear. We don't fight fair, can't allow genocide to turn Dr. King's dream into a nightmare.
And we are back. You are locked live to Saved in the City on WQIL-DB with your girl, Iberia. This has been quite an amazing show, and we're just getting started. It's Won't He Do It Wednesday. And we're sitting here with my boy, Daniel D.H. Harris. Yes, and what an amazing testimony and story. We're going to talk to him in just a little bit. But right now, it is time for your church announcements. We do this every Wednesday on Facebook Live, or, even if you're listening on the podcast now, and it's after Wednesday, you can still send me your current events, community happenings, anything like that to Saved in the City, MKE at gmail.com. Again, Saved in the City, MKE at gmail.com. And I'm happy to announce your event live on Facebook, and then it also will be on the podcast. Send those to me so that we can get the word out about what you're doing in the community. Wear purple on October 19th. That's coming up, and that's from Mahogany Cares, and the quote is, "I believe in safety for all. Every person has the right to be safe and loved. I'm wearing purple for domestic violence awareness." Purple Thursday. So make sure that on tomorrow you put on your purple to support those people who are bringing more awareness to domestic violence. Also, this is sent to us by Mahogany Cares in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month this October. There's an event happening called These Are My Pieces. It's happening October 24th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at New Hope Youth and Family Services, and that's at 7113 West Capitol Drive. Keynote speaker is Reverend Dr. Alice L. Belcher of Christian Woman Perspective Ministries, and an honorary survivor advocate for 15 years. And again, this is hosted by Mahogany Cares. And I love this. This is something at the bottom. And so I'll share this, guys. It says, if you need to escape. So if you are caught in domestic violence or anything, or any type of abusive situation, you can dial 211 and it'll take you where you need to go, or connect you to the folks that you need to get connected to. So again, these are my pieces happening October 24th, 2017, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at New Hope Youth and Family Services, 7113 West Capitol Drive. Also coming up is the PMI Business Group presents Community Revivers 2017. This is an event that's happening on the grounds of the Wisconsin State Fair Park, and I am actually one of the hosts, so come out and see your girl. I'm going to be hosting along with Rashad Washington, and it's a special award ceremony going out to the community revivers in Milwaukee. And again, that's happening October 21st at noon. It's free admission. Wisconsin State Fair Park, Tommy Thompson Expo Center, 640 South 84th Street. Also, Arnita Renee International presents Writers Unblocked featuring Dr. Pamela Lard. WritersUnblocked.eventbrite.com is where you can go ahead and register, and that's on Saturday, October 28th. I'm definitely trying to be there. I need to write some books. I got a whole bunch of books that I need to get on out.
I will definitely be there.
You going to be there too? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know it's going to be good because Arnita's an amazing presenter overall. So, so that's what's going on in our city. Again, send your events or things like that to me at savethecitymke@gmail.com, and I'm happy to announce them. Now is one of my favorite times of the hour where I get a chance to talk to someone in the city doing amazing things. So not only was Daniel kind of my guest host or interviewee today, he's also the Milwaukee Treasure. And again, that's just someone who's doing the work, not just talking the talk, but doing the work. And we heard his testimony, and and it led him in many different directions. It helped him to see life, through new eyes with a different perspective. And he also uses his music to be able to carry out a lot of that different work that he does. So, Daniel, thank you, first of all, just again for sharing your story earlier, and just for everything that you do in this city. You are seen, brother. And it's not just by me. The moment I say it, people are like, yes, like the confirmation, Daniel's doing it. So let's talk a little bit about, the song that we even the song we just heard, which was Bang Bang. You said that you wrote that for Dontre Hamilton.
Yeah. I've had the privilege of working and doing different community initiatives with the Hamilton family. Mm-hmm. And so just being a little closer to them and seeing the pain that they had to go through, it really led me to create a song, actually multiple songs touching on police brutality. God has given me a great platform with this music, and I think that it would be remiss of me if I did not use that for something greater than myself, And so with Bang Bang, that was something that God gave me just to talk about real life issues. Mm-hmm. Since I have the ear of a lot of people, I wanted to give them something that was real, and also something for them to think about, to see how they could also bring about solutions to the problems in our city.
Absolutely. So what are some of those other solutions that you've kind of created for some of the things that are going on in our city and the world? I know you do benefit concerts whenever there's like a major kind of tragedy that happens.
Yeah, we just had the Hope for Houston benefit concert where we were able to raise money and send to Samaritan's Purse. 100% of the proceeds went to that. Wow. Also, we have an annual Care for Kenya benefit concert where we raise thousands of dollars to help fund medical clinics in the village of Matu. There were women that were walking along a roadside 70 miles after being fully dilated, trying to get to the nearest hospital. So what I did was I joined forces with Dr. Penny Keiko and Pastor John Keiko. So we do Care for Kenya, once a year, and we raise at least $2,000 to help fund the medical clinics, and we also help to build a church out there in the village of Matu. Wow. So
and I think people don't always understand too, because currency is different. So 2,000 American dollars is like you balling
grand, right?
You balling up in Africa.
Yeah, easy. Whoa. And then every year we also do the Give Your Heart Away benefit concert that it benefits the homeless here, where I have people bring winter supplies to give directly to the homeless. And typically what we do is we connect with Richard from Faith Builders, and he has a team of people that gives the homeless the supplies while we're having the concert. So it's not like you have to go through a middleman to get to, people got to go through all this red tape. No, we do it right then, right there. Also, I'm on the board of directors for Envisioning the Future with Marika Riders.
Yeah, she's one of my treasures.
Yep. So that deals with sex trafficking, but also different events, just helping the community to find wholeness as a whole, it's a lot of different things.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But,
I love it. And then you still play. And then we haven't even mentioned, like, he's also a musician. Like, the bass player, and just so many different things.
DH and the Next Level Band. Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to my brothers. We just came back from out of town. God has really been opening up some great doors. We were up in Rapids, Wisconsin, Wisconsin Rapids. Saturday night we did a concert. Sunday morning I preached a message called the process that leads to the promise. So I've been doing a lot of that too. Just recently came out with an album, Movement Music Volume 2, August 23rd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're giving us another
absolutely.
volume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Volume 2, Yeah. So the music is also based on community activism, of course, my faith in Jesus Christ. It talks about everything, So yeah, it's a lot.
I love it, but you're doing it, with the grace of God. And again, that's where, as you guys kind of move forward in the things that God has given you to do, keep in mind that, the bigger the vision is, the more you need God, what I mean? So when it comes down to it, if it feels like it's too heavy for you, it's because you're not designed to carry it.
Come on.
So that.
Yes.
You do it?
Yes.
That was a good word, because literally, and that's what I've, as I've grown in my own things, I say, okay, God, how I'm supposed to do this? He said, you're not. So give it to God, cast your cares daily, and just, and walk out that thing that God has given you, despite what your beginning might have been. And thank you again, Daniel, for sharing your beginning and where you are now. So tell the people how they can stay connected to you. And
yes, you can stay connected to me by following me on Facebook. It's Daniel L. Harris on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. That's DH Music, DAYCHMUSIC. If you would like to check out the Movement Music Volume 2, you can check it out on Bandcamp. Look up D''AYCH on Bandcamp. And, just get with me. My email is DanielHarris451 at Yahoo. So contact me. Yeah. Contact me anytime. And thank you guys for your support, your continued love and encouragement. It really means a lot. And thank you for having me on Saved in the City. I had a great time.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you. And again, you guys, shout out to LZ Flinard over at WQILDB. Again, we couldn't be here doing this without his own efforts. And make sure that you follow, again, our podcast, Saved in the City. And then while you're doing that, also search Enterprise Now, where you can also subscribe to LZ's podcast as well. And let's all stay connected. Let's also continue to support each other. Now, before we go to break, let's do a challenge. Look at what Daniel gave.
Ooh,
look at what he gave.
That?
Look at what it is.
Is that Movement Music Volume 2?
Movement. Oh, is that you? You came on here to do that? Like that? No.
Straight like that.
No, I absolutely love it. Put a scripture up on the deliverance power of God, or anything to do with how amazing and how mighty God is. Just give me one scripture and you'll have a chance to win this amazing CD. Let's do it. All right, we're going to go to the next song. It's called The Church. And again, it's by DH. Let's go.
Please gather around saints and believers. That's only if you still listening. I got a bone to pick with those professing to be Christians, perceived as being foolish by those who watching from a distance. Is it because we rather make dollars than make a difference? I get in, you do anything for money in a good positions. Prostitutes say the same, both are degrading decisions. Being anointed and gifted is different. Biggest difference is when operated and giftings, whose name is being lifted is Christ King. Has the flesh taken seed as the sovereign? Is the sovereign one to answer if we're repeating the problem? Grace isn't the right to sin, but power to defeat the problem. For without holiness, no man will ever see the Father. Selfless agendas by people people are dying, tithing isn't provided for supplying fuel for these preachers are flying, armed with head knowledge, but give ear to what I am describing. Chiropractors are needed, their bodies out of alignment. Woo. Time to put away the games and let's be the church. Bring glory to Jesus' name, man, let's be the church. If you really are unashamed, then let's be the church. Jesus Christ coming again, man, let's put it on. Let's be the church. Let's be the church. Can't you see time winding down, man, let's put it on. Let's be the church. Let's be the church. Can't you see time winding down, man, let's put it on. How can we share the light when we're operating in darkness, desiring titles and positions over church departments, completely disregarding the reason why the church was started? So winning is secondary when dollars became the target. Go and make disciples, but we rather be viewed as idols. It's more lucrative to misuse scriptures out of the Bible to our own advantage, taking the grace of the Lord for granted, carried away with false doctrine, no longer seek understanding, motives underhanded, bucking and dancing. If we truly the church, why is the blood of so many lost souls up on our hands? Then when Christ returns, he won't be judging the building with steeples. He coming to judge his church first, only consistent of people. Time to put away the games and let's be the church. Bring glory to Jesus' name, man, let's be the church. If you really are unashamed, then let's be the church. Jesus Christ coming again, man, let's put it on. Let's be the church. Let's be the church. Can't you see time winding down, man, let's put it on.
Hey, let's be the church. And we are live. We are back here, and you guys are locked to Saved and the City. That's not Daniel next to me for the folks who are watching on Facebook like, what? Who is, yeah. So, yeah, we definitely going to be chatting with Miss Bianca in just a little bit. Again, that was DH. You definitely can pick up his music. Definitely follow him on Instagram at DH Music, Facebook, DH Music Support, Twitter, at DH, YouTube, DH Music TV, or just email him at DanielHarris45 at yahoo.com. I love to see, people who truly take lemons and make lemonade, so shout out to Daniel for everything that he's been doing. Continued prayers for his continued success. It's Won't He Do It Wednesday. And so, you thought that was all we had for you? Of course not, because God is yet doing the more. So I'm sitting here with the beautiful young lady, Bianca Williams. How you feeling today?
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it because the thing is, I know once you share your story, you don't look like what you've been through.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because God does something, and He gives us something that's called grace. It's that thing that covers. It's that thing that, you don't even see the residue of some of the things that we've been through. So why don't you start by just telling the people about you and just your journey to where you are today.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody again. Well, my name is Bianca Williams. I'm 26 years old. I'm a mother of 4. I'm a small business owner. I got an organization called a Cry for Help Foundation. That's been around like 3.5 years. I'm also into real estate, so I got a lot of different things going on. I just opened up a little small shelter for women and kids, basically to help them out on the streets, women who come from where I come from and been through the things that I've been through.
Yeah.
I started off dancing. I'm an ex-dancer of 8 years, basically. It was a 3-generational thing in my family where aunties, cousins, like everybody pretty much danced, or everybody been in that life before.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, I thought that's what I was supposed to do because that's what I seen. That's what I was surrounded by. And even in my community, my neighborhood, I always was around them type of people. I'm like, this is what I thought I was going to live. This was my career, being a dancer.
Right.
So even
how young did you start?
I was doing like little parties at 14 and 15 years old. They was household parties and the basement parties, like after sets. What they doing the little basement parties when the parents gone. 14 and 15 years old.
But the crowd was an older crowd?
The crowd was definitely older.
That's the part
the crowd was definitely 21 and older. Then I hung with 3 girls who was obviously older than me at that time. I was only 14 and 15, but they were 17, 21, and 28 years old. So those was my role models because I didn't have role models. I didn't have a strong structure. In my family, they didn't talk about God or Jesus or church. I had to seek out those type of assistance and support groups outside of my household, which is my guidance counselors, my teachers, and my friends' parents.
Wow.
Because I didn't have that. Still to this day, it was hard to establish that foundation because I didn't come from that. So I had to go through something in order to get where I am today. And I say it was straight out the mud, definitely, because I wasn't taught that. What I was taught and with the plan that was rolled out for me, I was supposed to be a drug addict, a prostitute, somebody in jail, even possibly dead. The 3 friends that I had and I kind of grew up around and under, 2 of them in jail for 45 years for armed robbery and attempted homicide. And the other one, she died 3 years ago, you know, doing some things she wasn't supposed to be doing in Wausau, Wisconsin, which is, they say, I'm turning a trick. And the guy killed her. So that was my motivation to wake up and start living the life that I was supposed to live for Bianca instead of the life everybody else wanted me to live. During that process, I had kids. I was in and out of the strip clubs. And I said, you know what? In the strip clubs, I said, Bianca, this ain't you. You don't have a drinking habit. You don't have a drug addict. Like, you okay. Like, I had to believe that. But every time I went back home, which was here in Milwaukee, in the hood, this is all I was surrounded by. This is all I seen. So I said, you bigger than this. You never been in jail. You got your high school diploma. You're not a drug addict or an alcoholic. This is bigger than you, Bianca. And once I believed that it was something bigger than me, which was God, I mean, all type of doors open for me.
I am just, oh my God, I'm just literally just trying to take it all in because, okay, so there's a few things that are standing out right away. Number one, it takes a village. People truly do not, I mean, we say that as an old African proverb, but it's so real. Sometimes you don't have the example in your own environment. So that's why it is so important for us to have good teachers in these classrooms. People that if you, we had Dana World Patterson on before, I don't know if you know, yeah. So their whole campaign is see something, say something, do something. So if you at one of these parties, men, women, and you see a young girl that's 14, 15 years old, say something. Like, it's just, I am a little bit enraged because, you know, but at the same time, it was a part of your story and your journey. I'm so glad that you're able to find a way, you know, through the grace of God to get to that next place. So how did you, I know you said you had those examples, but you said kind of coming back to Milwaukee was hard because that was your environment. How did you create another circle?
So what I had to do is look outside of my environment, look outside of my household, look outside of my immediate family and friends and a structure that was placed before me, which was hard because I went to older men thinking they could help me, thinking, hey, they got my best interest, which was he put me right back in the strip club. And I actually had 2 kids by him. And so it was like, what was placed before me, I couldn't change until I got God on my side, until I believed that, hey, God, I surrender.
Who shared that with you? Was it something inside, or was there a person? Was there a pastor? Was there a...
What it was a guidance counselor at my school, my high school. He said, baby, ain't nobody going to help you but Jesus.
Wow.
And that was the best thing he could have ever told me, because bringing Jesus in that situation when no one else did, no one else introduced me to him, it was like the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
So how did you, so he said that, you know, because I like to, just to dig a little bit more, because some people, when we say that, we understand what that means because we've been in it for a while, but some people who have never even thought about God as being an answer. So then what was after he said that, what was your process? Did you try to get plugged into a church? Did you start listening to motivational? You know?
So I had friends who mothers was pastors and evangelists and stuff like that. So I just said, can I go to church with you? I really need this. And one mother, she said, Miss Helen White, she said, baby, come on. I need to take you to church, baby, because I don't
I'm trying
know.
my best not to cry.
And in this process, no one knew what to do with a young person like me. The teachers failed me. My family failed me.
And
the
so people
system
so
failed me.
judgmental too.
And so they didn't, no one put me in the system. So I never been in the Child Protective Service system. I fell through the cracks. Not only at that time, at 15 years old, I became pregnant. And it was not alarming to my doctors, the social workers, the caseworkers. Well, eventually I ended up having a miscarriage. And I fell through the cracks again. The system failed me. So it was like, how many people going to let me down? All my life, everybody let me down. But here it is, a young girl trying to do something and become something other than what was laid out before me, and I didn't know where to go. So it led me right back into the strip clubs.
So what was that? I know you said you brought God into your life, but now, I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You have all these other things going on. When did you start that process?
So I actually started that process 4 years ago. My friend, she was struggling with heroin really bad. And it was like, God, this ain't me.
Yeah.
This ain't me. And once again, when I got out the strip clubs, I seen family members, friends, everybody's still in it. So here it is, I'm gone. Everybody's still doing the same thing. So I wasn't missing nothing. My struggle was, Bianca, what's the next step? There was nothing out here. Nothing 4 years ago that said, Bianca, this is your next step. This is what you do. Because I had to bump my head. It wasn't no doors to knock on. It wasn't no number to call. I didn't hear about these different organizations that help with women with sex trafficking, human trafficking. I didn't hear, and I was in it. I wasn't being trafficked, but I trafficked myself.
Oh, my God.
I didn't have a pimp. I was pimping myself. So when I hear a lot of people say, hey, I've been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years, I say, where? I just got out the life. And there was no assistance, nowhere for me to go. And when you come out that mindset of trying to get out of making that type of money, you need fast money because you got bills, kids, responsibilities. There was nowhere for me to go to make that type of money. So the people that I was hearing was doing this, I'm like, where was you? Because it seemed like yesterday when I just got out, and I've been doing this. And so what I started to do is, Bianca, assess everything that you had going on at that time. And I had to take myself back, which hurted and which was traumatizing, to go back and say, Bianca, what didn't you have when you escaped that lifestyle? I didn't have food. I didn't have clothing. I didn't have hygiene. I didn't have personal things that I need to take care of me and my kids. And I always want to remember when I got out so I can help another young sister who's either getting in or getting out that same situation that I was once in before. And when I tell you, it's been real. I had some good days, some low days, some bad days, some up and down, but God is in the midst.
Oh, I'm trying my best not to go all the way in.
And when I tell you the joy I get from working with other young girls and women just like me.
Right, and so, I'm sorry, what's the name of your organization again?
Cry for Help Foundation.
Cry for Help Foundation. So that was founded 4 years ago.
Yes.
And so you became the change that you wanted to see.
Yes.
You became that direct connection because you know where the
firsthand.
Wow. So again, talk about, has there been any type of like triumph stories that have come already from some of the girls that have been you connected with?
So basically, some of them got into jobs. They got into transitional living.
It's a process,
they offer drugs. They in drug rehab programs. And basically, they just living right now. Just trying to live the right path and walk on it and know that they got somebody that's been there. Somebody that understands it. So it's a difference from talking about it. But when you've been there before, you're able to relate to them a little differently. And so me showing them, hey, I was you.
Yeah.
I was you. And look at me today. Then they say, well, you got all these kids. You ain't going to never be none. You went to jail. You was a prostitute. You ain't going to never be none. That was me. And look at me today. So it's leading by example. And what I tell people, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Can I shout? I just want to run. Y'all don't even understand because I'm sitting at a lot of times, when people start to share their testimony, sometimes you look at it and you're like, but you might still be struggling. You know what I mean? Because that residue is still on it. But when I tell you God has wiped you clean, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, God, won't he do it? I'm telling you, my God, you have blessed me. Just such an inspiration. So I guess just give the folks some parting words on, for those people, because a lot of times you're talking about your own kind of situation, which was coming out of prostitution and coming out of all of this lifestyle where it was a norm. It was an absolute norm.
Yes,
but there are other people who are caught even in other things, and they just feel like they can't get out. And sometimes the problems are way smaller,
Yeah.
So maybe encourage the people, and then just tell them how they can connect to your organization and how they can continue to support what you're doing.
So what I would say is find some people that you can trust and some people that understand and can relate to what you're going through, and just confide in them and let them know. Because sometimes it just takes somebody to just listen. Yeah. Just listen. At that time of going through my storm, nobody would listen to me because I wasn't buying into they drinking habit no more.
Yeah.
They weed habit no more. I wasn't partying and clubbing. So in this process, I lost some friends.
Yeah.
I lost some family members. So you got to be willing to sacrifice some things. If you're not willing to sacrifice, you can't get to where you're supposed to be going. So in this midst of going through my storm, I had to sacrifice some things. So be prepared to sacrifice some family members, some friends, some money, household items. You got to sacrifice. But when he stripped me of all of that, oh my God, I can't tell you. It's the best feeling. I thought I was feeling good when I was in the club and they was making it rain. But when he started making it rain on me afterwards and I got clean, Lord, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. The only thing I can say is I'm still here. And what I thought I was doing when I was in my storm and in my mess, he has blessed it, and he's continuing to bless it. So what I tell you to do is surround yourself around some good people, some godly people, some uplifting men and women that you can connect to,
They
you
are
can
out there.
relate to.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I didn't have many folks until I got outside of my family and my environment, but there's people waiting for you. It's people waiting.
Oh, my God. And she's one of them that's waiting. The name of your organization once more.
My organization is a Cry for Help
And
Foundation.
how can they connect to that?
We located in Milwaukee Mall, which is 2100 West North Avenue. I'm also on Facebook as Bianca Williams. We got a Facebook page, a Cry for Help Foundation. And I'm just out here.
Oh, my God. And I'm so glad that you're there. And I'm so glad that you were open to coming on my show and sharing your testimony. Again, you guys, this is Bianca Williams. It's Won't He Do It Wednesday.
Yes.
This has been an amazing show. So what I want to give you guys is the Kingdom Solution. You already know that. That's the premise of Saving the City, which is the Kingdom Solution for real world issues. And the question is, what does the Bible say about deliverance or being set free? And it says deliverance is defined as a rescue from bondage and danger. Deliverance in the Bible is the acts of God whereby he rescues his people from peril. So whatever your situation is, whether you're caught up in the strip clubs or in addiction or abuse or anything like that, God did it before, which means that he'll do it again. So in the Old Testament, deliverance is focused primarily on God's removal of those who are in the midst of trouble or danger. He rescues his people from their enemies and from the hand of the wicked and the grave. So you don't got to die in that thing. He preserves them from famine, from death. The most striking example is the deliverance in Exodus from Egypt. Here is God defined as the deliverer of Israel, who rescues his people, not because they deserve to be rescued, but as an expression of his mercy and love. God wants to get the glory out of your life. Yes. He didn't, you're not going through that thing just to die in it. You know, he gets no glory in your demise. He gets no glory in your death. Like Bianca said, there are people waiting for you on the other side, and she's definitely one of them. I am definitely one of them. No judgment, open arms. You can get free. God can do it. And again, this is Won't He Do It Wednesday. He can do it, and he will do it if you believe. Just have the faith, the grain of a mustard seed, and I declare you can move mountains. This has been another episode of Saved and the City. I'm so excited, again, just to have my guests that came on earlier, Daniel Harris, Bianca Williams. Thank you to all of my supporters, and be sure to like me and follow me on social media to stay connected to all things Saved in the City. And until next week, be encouraged.